Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Roderico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are the hosts of the Women of Golf Show. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. We got a beautiful sunny day down here in Florida. How about you up in Buffalo?
You know what? It's like 80 and sunny. It hasn't rained for a week.
Wow, that's unlike Buffalo, New York. Well,
it
fantastic.
Sure
I'm glad
it's
you're having
out.
A good day for golf, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, everybody, want to welcome you to the Women of Golf Show, and as I said, you're here with Cindy Miller, and of course, I'm Ted Roderico, and we're the hosts of the Women of Golf Show. We got some great guests coming on. In just a moment or two, we're going to welcome from not last week, but from the previous week, Muni. She was the winner of the Symetra Tour's inaugural Prasco Charity Championship that was held at TPC Rivers Bend. We're going to talk to her in just a moment or two. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be very excited to welcome back Nancy Henderson, who is the president of the LPGA Foundation. She'll be joining us on the second half. But let me just remind everybody, of course, we are live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And the best way to find us, of course, is go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or just type in Women of Golf up in the search key there, and you will find us front and center. For some reason, if you can't join us live, just scroll down on that page to the on-demand section, and all of the previously aired shows are there in their entirety. You can listen to when it's convenient for you. You can also check us out at iTunes.com, Stitcher.com, and TuneIn.com. And again, just type in Women of Golf, and that will take you there on those social media platforms. We also update every week on social media, so be sure to check my page and Cindy's as well. We'll let you know who's coming on the following week. And if you want to call in anytime during the live broadcast, you can do so by calling area code 347-945-5855. Or you can reach out to Cindy and I personally, and our emails are as follows: cindy@cindymillergolf.com, and mine, of course, is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Let me tell you a little bit about Muni, and we'll bring her on. As I mentioned, she won, not this past week, but the previous week, the Symetra Tour's inaugural Prasco Charity Championship. And this is her first year on the Symetra Tour. She shot a 15 under par overall performance in the inaugural Classic and at TPC Rivers Bend, which landed her first professional title. Included a bogey-free 5 under par 67 final round, and the win also marks down in history as she claims the crown at the first LPGA Tour family event contested at a course owned and operated by the PGA Tour. She spent 2 semesters at the University of Southern California, but opted to forgo her final 3 years of collegiate eligibility. She made her professional debut on December 6th at the Omega Dubai Ladies Masters, the last event in 2017 Ladies European Tour schedule. Following her first Symetra Tour win, it now puts her at number 13 in the Volvic race for the card to earn a full-time LPGA Tour membership in 2019. So, Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest this morning, Muni He.
Good morning, Muni.
Hi. Oh, hi, how are you? Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you for having me on.
Where are you right now?
All right.
I'm currently at French Lick, Indiana, for preparing for another Symetra event on the road.
That place is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yes, it's very beautiful.
Now you're playing the Donald Ross course this week, or the Pete Dye?
The Donald Ross.
Got it. And have you played a practice round yet?
Wow.
Yes, yesterday I went off and played 9 holes, and the course was just in amazing condition, and it's really beautiful out there.
Awesome.
Fantastic. And Cindy, you know that area very well. You've, of course, been to French Lick many times, so you know the challenge that Muni is going to be facing this week for sure, correct?
I do. I do. The Donald Ross course I have not played. They had the LPGA National Teaching Championship there one year, and I did not play. So we've always played our Legends Tour event on the Pete Dye course. But the facility, the casino, the hotels, the golf courses are unbelievable, and the people that work there are totally amazing. They're so friendly. Are you staying in the casino hotel or the West Baden?
No, actually. Me and my family, we've rented an Airbnb across the street from the casino.
Ah, well, aren't you smart?
Yes.
That's awesome.
All right. Let me.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Mooney, let me ask you very quickly, as I said in the opening credits, that it's been a couple of weeks now since you actually won. You were going to be on 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately you were mid-travel, so we weren't able to get you on right after the win. But tell us a little bit about that first win, how it felt, and specifically some of the challenges that you faced personally while out battling it out on the golf course against some of your fellow competitors.
Yes, for sure. I mean, being a rookie on Symetra Tour, I had, really no idea what the year would hold and what it would look like for me. So at the beginning, it was very challenging adjusting to the professional life and having to travel week after week. And, especially being on the grind while not seeing much results or good results can be really tough on a person physically and mentally. So leading up to the month of June, I was actually struggling a bit with my game and just with really how, my outlook towards playing this season as a professional. And then the month of June came, and I realized that a lot of my issues that I was struggling with in my game were becoming a little bit more easier to deal with, and that maybe, I was gaining more confidence within myself and within my game. So I definitely did struggle a lot, and I've learned a lot leading up to the point of now. And have won the last Symetra event, it was really a confidence booster and kind of a way for me to really start to think in a way that, maybe, I can do this. Maybe I can't be up on the leaderboard, and I should really start to believe in myself and just trusting the process versus stressing out about scores and things that are out of my control.
Well said. Let me very quickly ask an obvious follow-up question, and then Cindy, I'll turn it over to you. I know you've got some questions. Muni, you mentioned a couple times that that you struggled a little bit leading up. What specifically, or what areas of your game were you having the most difficulty with?
I've always been, throughout junior golf and college golf, I've always been a very good ball striker. But within the last 3 years, I never really had a coach to overlook my swing because, that was the part of my game that I was feeling so confident on. And I spent a lot of time on my short game and on my putting, and that improved tremendously. But I've also realized at the same time that my ball striking was not the same as it was before. I didn't really feel confident about it, and it just, it was a little bit of feeling like it was out of my control. So earlier this year, I started working with Coach Ted O, who's also Lydia's coach, and he has just helped me tremendously to improve within my own swing and within my own game and help me to regain that confidence.
Fantastic. Yeah, it always helps when you've got somebody, another set of eyes, if you will, sort of look at some of the areas that you struggle with like that, and to be able to give you some good feedback. That's fantastic. Cindy, I know you've got some questions. Go ahead.
So just so I understand, before you started working with Ted, you really didn't have a swing coach?
For about 2.5, 3 years, I didn't really take a single lesson, like swing lessons. I've had putting coaches and short game coaches, but just not really a swing coach.
Wow. And you were hitting the ball very well, so you were happy with it up until that?
Yes. So that was kind of my way of thought. Like, if something's not broken, I shouldn't have to fix it. And I kind of thought that I knew enough about my own swing to be able to tweak the small mistakes, but it ended up getting a little out of my hands and feeling like it was out of control.
Well, good for you for noticing that. Let me ask you another question.
Yes.
Along with having Ted be on your team and you learning to trust him and him helping you gain confidence, what was it that helped you believe that you belong?
I think growing up as a junior golfer, I've had some good results, and I committed to USC as a freshman in high school, and in college I've had some success as well. So I feel like leading up to turning pro, even after I did, there was some sort of expectation that I felt like I had to live up to, which was really tough and challenging for me to, kind of realize that wasn't the case. I never really believed in myself, but it's really a process of knowing that you kind of need to believe in yourself more than anyone else. So I really had to just start from within myself to kind of change my mindset and to really change how I played.
So you had some success, right, as a junior golfer?
Yes.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up partially in Canada, but I went to high school in San Diego, California. So I've been competing in the States since I was little.
Okay, now did you go to high school in San Diego because you went to a golf school or because your parents moved?
Well, we moved to the States because my parents thought the competitions in the States were a lot better compared to Canada. And I went to Torrey Pines High School, which had a very decent golf program for both girls and boys.
Awesome. So all this time as a junior player, the reason I ask is because I teach a lot of kids, and I believe that your story is going to help a lot of people. And I'm also a columnist for the Buffalo News, and I have to write an article this week. And I'm very intrigued by what you're telling me, and I think that your story can help a lot of people. So
yes, thank you.
Even though you're so successful as a junior player, you really don't believe in yourself.
I think that can vary from person to person. I know I've always been one to be very critical, especially on myself. I tend to see all the bad things within myself and all the flaws, and my brain just really automatically goes like, you're not good enough for this, you're not good enough, and you're not going to make it. But that's something I've really learned to kind of to have less of that negative energy.
Are you a perfectionist as a person? Is your behavior style, your personality that of I'm very organized, I'm neat, I'm clean, I like things in order? Is that what you're more
yes,
like?
I would say so. Yes, I would say so. Especially growing up, that was something I really struggled with. Something that I really had to learn and grow to learn, that not everything can be perfect and not everything can be my way, exactly the way that I want it to be and exactly the way I want it to turn out. So I've definitely bettered within through the years, but there are some parts of it where I'm still struggling and learning to deal with, of course.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations for defeating your personal demons.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Cindy, because I know that's something that we've talked about on the show before, the different personality styles and that, and how that can really translate out on the golf course. And, Muni, one of the things that Cindy and I have talked about a lot is how sometimes those inner voices can really get in the way of how you play. I mean, you can be a phenomenal ball striker and have a great short game, but what goes on up in your head sometimes during a round can adversely affect how you play. So when you're out on the golf course, the question I want to ask you is sort of, again, paralleling what Cindy's talking about here. When you're out on the golf course, Muni, and you run into, I know you didn't in the tournament you won, because it sounds like you had a phenomenal event, but obviously in the past you've had some tournaments where maybe you've had a bad hole or two in a row. What did you do to prevent that from derailing your whole round? What did you say to yourself, or how did you regroup, if you will, to prevent your whole round from really going bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not easy to, keep your mind off of all the negative things after you've made a mistake. But I think it's just really important to realize that, what has happened has already occurred, and it can't be fixed, and, you can't go back in time and change it. So it's more important to focus on the next shot and the next hole, and, just taking it a shot by shot and really just trying your best without thinking about scores at all, kind of looking at it as like a fresh start, which really helps me, I know, when I struggle within, a hole or a few holes. Right.
Well said. Now, I want to ask you something a little bit different. We actually, last week, of course, Zach was on to talk with us because, as I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, you weren't able to join us that week. But I asked him about social media, because I noticed in the notes that he had sent me about you that you have a very large Instagram following. In fact, it's even been boosted up since you won your tournament. So is social media a big part? Because you're obviously a young female and like to get out and have fun and connect with your friends on various social media platforms, Instagram being one of them. Is that a big part of something that you like to do? And how do you get around, because you're on the road quite a bit, so you don't always get a chance to see your friends, and that may be the only way you get to communicate with them. Is it difficult sometimes being on the road and not having maybe some of your girlfriends or friends that you like to socialize with, to be able just to say, hey, we want to go out tonight and do something? Is that difficult sometimes for you?
I think growing up, as an only child, and I was actually homeschooled for a couple of years, so this type of lifestyle is not too unfamiliar for me, but I do have my close friends, and a lot of my friends are actually golfers as well, because growing up, all the girls that I play with on Symetra, a lot of them I grew up with playing junior golf and college golf, so it's nice to have some of them here, and it's also nice to meet new people at the Symetra Tour, and not to mention that nowadays, like you mentioned, we can connect with a lot of our friends through social media or just, messaging them on our phones, and we can talk and we can FaceTime. So it is challenging, but at the same time, I feel like it's not something that I'm too stressed out about.
Right. Now, just very quickly, a follow-up on the social media aspect, because I know you are very, correct me if I'm wrong, you're 18, 19, is that correct?
I'm 19, yes.
19, okay. So as a 19-year-old female who obviously is very popular on social media, are you someone that gets kind of caught up in the social media? But I mean, a lot of younger folks out there are really into social media. Obviously, I know it's something that's important to everybody nowadays, but is that something that you get really caught up on, or are you able to find balance?
I think I think it can be very consuming at times. So I've really had to learn how to find that balance, and knowing that, social media isn't everything, and, what you see all the time might not be what's going on in the real life. Like you mentioned, I am a young female. So as a 19-year-old and being from California, social media is a huge part of everyone's life. And I'm just happy that I'm able to express what I want to express about myself, my life, and my friends and family through the platform. I'm really able, through social media, I've been able to connect with so many amazing people and people that I would have never met without it. So I'm really thankful for social media, and I think it's such a great way to build your community and to build your own brand. And it can be challenging on the road sometimes because you have to, really learn how to balance both things. But I think I've been doing a pretty good job at it, trying to find that balance and kind of, go through it at the same time. And although I'm working really hard and traveling is not easy on the Symetra Tour, a lot of the times, social media only reflects the highlights of your life. So some people might not be able to see all the behind-the-scenes stuff. But I think that's the important part, too, to know that it's important to know that social media isn't real life all the time. And I really wanted to showcase that you can be a golfer and you can be a professional golfer and be good at what you do without having to give up everything else in your life.
That's a good point. What's your Instagram handle?
It's at Lily, so LILYMHE. So the M stands for Muni, which is my Chinese name, my birth name. But my close friends call me Lily, so I go by both. So it's Lily MHE, and HE is just my last name.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, you have quite the following. Yeah, you have quite the following. I think you're up around 150 or 160,000 now, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere, which is just impressive, of course.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned something very interesting, Cindy. I'm just going to ask one more quick question, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Just about social media. You mentioned about, it's not all sort of glitz and glamour all the time, and people don't always get to see what goes on behind the scenes. Traveling obviously can be very, very difficult because you're hopping around from state to state and so on and that. What's the hardest part of tour life for you?
I think it's being separated from home because, home is where all my friends are and where I feel the most comfortable. And so it's really stepping out of my comfort zone. And being on the road all the time to unfamiliar places can really take a toll on you. And, sometimes, especially if you're not playing well, you can feel really alone, even if you do have family out there supporting you. You can still feel like it's just very unfamiliar to you.
Right. Well said. Cindy, go ahead. I know you probably have another question or two.
So you mentioned that your family and you rented an Airbnb across from the golf course. Does your family travel with you every week?
Yes. So both of my parents actually travel with me, are going to be traveling with me full time this year, which, makes me really lucky because I know a lot of the girls out here, they're out here by themselves, and I can't imagine how much more challenging and tiring that would be.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's kind of scary, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And let me ask you, what is the best part of your game?
I think right now it's kind of hard to say. Right now I feel like I'm really trying to find balance within everything. And, during a round when one thing goes wrong, I always try to make up for it with another part of my game. But recently, I think putting has been kind of the highlight of my game. Being able to make up and downs and being able to make those long birdie or eagle putts has really helped me within, competitions. So I think recently it really has been my putting.
Awesome. And are you coming to Rochester?
Yes, I will be.
Awesome. I'm going to bring some girls over, and I'm going to come over and introduce myself to you.
Yes, of course. I'd be so happy to meet you guys.
Very, very, very
Perfect.
cool.
Very good. Well, Muni, we know that you need to get out there and practice up a little bit more. And congratulations again on your win at the Prasco Charity Championship a couple of weeks ago. And we wish you well at French Lick this week in the tournament. And I'm sure Cindy looks forward to meeting you the following week in Rochester. So have a great week and much continued success. And we hope you'll come back and join us again sometime.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's really an honor to be able to talk with you guys. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. That was our very special guest this morning, Muni He, winner of the inaugural Prasco Charity Championship a couple of weeks ago at TPC Rivers Bend. Of course, I'm talking about the Symetra Tour, and she's going to be in French Lick. In fact, is in French Lick right now, going to be playing on the Donald Ross course. Tell us very quickly before we move on, Cindy, a little bit about the Donald Ross course, because I know you said you didn't play on it for the event, but you're familiar with some of the lay of the land. What's it like?
You know what? Nancy Henderson could probably help us more because I have never played it, but I've been over to the pro shop and the clubhouse, and it looks very hilly. I heard it was really hilly and really hard. And I can tell you that the other course is even more hilly and more hard, really hard.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned in the past a few times playing there at the Legends Tour event that some of the fun that you had. I think you this is not coming from me, but I think these were your words. You said you felt like a mountain goat.
I don't know that I would say that, but yeah, it is. It's very, very hilly, and it's very difficult, and it's a good test of golf.
Right. All right, well, let's bring Nancy out, and we'll ask her a little bit about the Donald Ross course and some other things as well. Let me just tell everybody a little bit about her for those that maybe are not familiar. Nancy Henderson, of course, serves both as the president of the LPGA Foundation and chief teaching officer for the LPGA Teaching and Club Professional Membership. And in these roles, she provides strategic vision as well as supervising the day-to-day operations of both organizations within the LPGA. Nancy, of course, with her team at the LPGA are tasked to create innovative programs and activities that support the overall goals and mission of the association. And she's a Class A member of both the LPGA and PGA, and prior to joining the staff at the LPGA headquarters, she was the Director of Golf and General Manager at LPGA International Golf Course, the home of the Ladies Professional Golf Association, for over 7 years. In 2001, she received the LPGA National Professional of the Year Award for her accomplishments at LPGA International. And she's a native of Clearwater, Florida, and a graduate of Southern Methodist University, in Dallas. And she earned her 4-year scholarship as a member of SMU's women's golf team. She's a 2-time U.S. Open participant, and her playing accomplishments include more than 300 tournament victories and this still blows me away, 13 holes in one. So let's welcome our very special guest this morning, Nancy Henderson.
Good
well,
morning.
Thank you for having me. Yes, and I'll start with I have something to tell you about the bio. It's actually now 14 hole-in-ones.
Oh.
I knew it.
Yes,
I thought
we had
I saw
an
something. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes,
Nancy.
we had an LPGA mixed team event at Ocean Hammock here in the Palm Coast area in Florida, and had my 14th hole-in-one, and it was fun to have it in competition. It was a little costly. I got to buy a few drinks, but it was nice to get off that unlucky number 13.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I heard you all talking about the courses at French Lick before I came on, and it's they are definitely challenging golf courses, both of them. I have to say, it's when you play those courses, you really have to be on your game, both in hitting fairways and in hitting greens, because it's not much recovery from the rough or from those areas where you have to chip. And I know, Cindy, you've played it, so it's fun to have such a challenging course, and it really does bring out the best champions.
It sure does.
Fantastic. Let me just very quickly start it off, Cindy, and then I'll throw it right back over to you. Just speaking about that, we had Muni He, of course, who won the Prasco Charity Championship a couple of weeks ago on the Symetra Tour. They're playing at French Lick on the Donald Ross course. You've obviously played on that course for some events. What does she need to, if you were going to advise her, obviously, what particularly are some things that she might want to watch out for playing in that course?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the elevation, so club selection is really key. You have to be able to control your distances both in getting the ball on the green, because like most Donald Ross courses, if you miss a green, it's very challenging to get up and down because they're so undulating, and those runoffs are quite severe. So, I would say to her, I know it sounds easy, but hit as many fairways and greens as you can, not to be enticed by too many pins, because as you go for those pins, it's really penalizing on if you short side yourself. So, I think it'll be a matter of really someone who thinks their way around the golf course. I don't know that it's one that you can overpower.
Right. So there's no real advantage to the long hitters or anything like that. It's going to be more strategy that's going to be needed out in there, correct?
Well, with any golf course, if you can hit it long and straight, absolutely. It means you're hitting a shorter iron into a green, and if it's hitting into an elevated green, it's definitely an advantage to that. But I think what you'll see is a lot of the longer hitters, backing off in terms of not hitting driver on a few holes, only because the rough out there tends to be so significant. I know when we played out there, we had our LPGA Teaching and Club Professional National Championship. Really, on either course, the rough can be so tough. We had to have a spotter on every hole, just to help locate golf balls, and that's when it's tough to find them. And if you can't find it, it's hard to advance it to the green, let alone back to the fairway. So yeah, it's definitely one that you want to think your way around.
Well, it sounds like you've been looking in the bottom of the cup for yours here recently with another hole-in-one. That's phenomenal. I can't get over that. That's incredible. Cindy, go ahead. I know you've got some questions.
Tell us what's going on with girls golf this summer.
Girls golf, our favorite topic. LPGA, USGA, girls golf. The only all-girls program of its kind, and really for girls 7 through 17, although, our kind of sweet spot is that 7 to 12-year-old age group. And, our excitement this year really are around our Empower Days. We obviously have the 5 E's of girls golf, and this year we're focusing on our Empower ambassador, Brittany Lincecum, and what Empower means. And it's kind of a superhero-themed event for the girls all over the country, and it's kind of fun to see how they learn about not only about Brittany, but how to hit the ball further and what exactly Empower means. And of course, it ends up with hitting a great water balloon at the end. So it's really fun for me to kind of roll out those kind of national programs. Our site directors, run by LPGA or PGA golf professionals, do such a great job in creating incredible programming for girls, not only to learn the game of golf, but to also learn about life skills that'll help girls. And, if we can get more girls feeling empowered and confident, then we're doing our goal in developing not only lifelong golfers, but girls who are ready kind of to take on the world. And that superhero-themed event is one of my favorites this summer.
Awesome. Ted?
Go ahead, Cindy. Okay, sorry, you want me? Let me ask you something else, too. On the LPGA Women's Golf Network, when you were on last time, you were just launching that. Give us an update on that as well, on the LPGA Women's Golf Network.
Sure, I'm happy to. We as an LPGA organization felt like for, more than 60 years we've been focused on professional women, both through our tours and through our teaching and club professional membership. We felt like we, through our foundation, were focusing on girls and developing girls. But really the area that the LPGA for our history since 1950 had never really focused on was the amateur women in golf. And we really wanted to do something, because if the LPGA wasn't going to be the voice for women in golf or be an organization that was trying to get more women playing the game as well, we felt like really the other industry organizations would, if we kind of led the effort, would jump on board. And that's exactly what's happened. So we developed the LPGA Women's Network, which is an online digital community, where women can not only get advice for their golf game, but kind of inspiration for their life. And there's lots of great instruction from our LPGA teaching and club professional members, and then through our partners, we can tell inspirational stories about women who've, succeeded both on and off the course. And it's incredible content. We've had 4 great partners come on board. We're about to announce a new partner in the next month or so. So, it's great to see, Dow and XL Catlin and KPMG and, of course, Dow jump on board to support our LPGA Women's Network. And it's growing. Our community is growing. Our community of women started with a very small number, and now we're up to more than 200 women who are engaged in the community in one way or another, whether it's through social or through our bi-monthly newsletter. But it's one of those things that once it starts going and the other industry organizations have gotten behind it, we know we're going to build a great community where women have a place not only to learn the game, but to improve their game and to find other women to play with. And, that's been a great to kind of watch it grow and to see how the women are all connected through golf. And it's that passion that keeps them, coming back. And it's nice to see.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
couldn't agree wholeheartly. Let me just ask one other question, and then Cindy, I'm going to give it back to you. Nancy, we all know that coming I believe this fall, Susie Whaley is going to be taking over as the first female president of the PGA of America, which is very, very exciting for a lot of people. Is there anything specific that you would like to see her do in that position? I know she's done a lot already as an executive there, but what would you like to see? What are you hoping for happens with her in that position?
Well, first of all, being a PGA member myself for more than 25 years, and seeing both organizations, one, I'm so excited that, the members of the PGA have voted Susie in. I think when you hear Susie speak and you feel her passion that she has for making a difference, you kind of forget in a lot of ways that, she is a female. And I love that, because, it shouldn't be where we look at somebody and as a candidate say, oh, she's a female or he's a male. It should be who is the right person to lead the organization at the time. And I honestly feel like Susie is the right person to lead the PGA of America, especially at this time. I think the golf industry right now is in a state of flux, and I think it's not exactly growing, and we need some changes, and we need some leadership that are going to come in. And I think the PGA is making some changes to their curriculum, which will definitely help. It's becoming a little bit more specialized versus they kind of had a general education that gave you a little bit of everything. And I think this change in education and the direction they're going in terms of, creating specialties in the field. It's like if you go and get a general business degree, that's great, but it's not necessarily going to help you get a specific job. If you go through, a specialization where you want to be a dentist, well, then you're going to be able to get a job as a dentist in that particular field. That's a little bit of what the PGA is doing now in terms of if you want to be someone who leads, the business, or if you want to be a teacher, or if you want to be someone who manages events, you learn about that so that when you're through that curriculum, okay, you're looking for someone who can run tournaments at a facility, you know that this person is uniquely qualified and trained to do that. So I think, Susie's going to put her own mark on the PGA, and I think she's a good voice of all, both men and women in golf, and herself is a member of both organizations. So I think she realizes the value that the LPGA and in the industry brings, and it's nice to have that kind of collaboration.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great. Cindy, go ahead.
What are you working on for the TNCP for the summer? Because I know you got a lot of stuff going on.
Do have a lot of stuff going on, and I guess before I get to that question, kind of backing up on the Women's Network if I can, and then I'll answer your TNCP question. So, as we rolled out the LPGA Women's Network, we realized we didn't have that play component, and this year actually we merged with the Executive Women's Golf Association, which has now been rebranded as the LPGA Amateur Golf Association. So that Women's Network now has a community of more than 12,000 passionate women who play at the local level in more than 100 chapters. So for us, rather than recreating, the wheel, so to speak, we were able to align with the Executive Women's Golf Association and rebrand, and really are looking to get more and more chapters and more women playing golf with other women, because just like with our girls golf program, we realize that if we get women playing in a comfortable environment with other women, that they tend to stay in it longer, and it's easier to get women to learn the game with other women. So that kind of leads into what the TNCP focus is for this particular summer, is our new LPGA Golf 101 program, which we rolled out in January of this year, and we have more than 300 of our LPGA certified professionals conducting LPGA Golf 101 programs all over the country. And it's a great introduction to golf program, taking you through 6 different sessions with instruction both on and off the course. And, the goal is by the end of those 6 sessions for, that group of women, and it is a women's only program, which is wonderful, because that's one of the challenges when women take up the game. Usually there's like 10 of them in a clinic, 8 will be men, 2 will be women, and the women can't help but compare themselves to the men. And it's not always the most comfortable space, and they don't necessarily have, that network to play golf with. So we rolled out this program as a women's only program so that women can learn from women, and obviously our certified teachers are the best to kind of onboard them in a comfortable environment. So for us, through that program, our goal by 2020 is to introduce, as many as 50,000 new women to the game. And I have to say, anytime we roll out one of those initiatives, the Cindy Millers of the world jump on board, and a lot of them were doing an introduction to golf program already, but being able to brand it all under the LPGA Golf 101 umbrella and promote it. We'll be shooting a PSA in November, which is basically all about what the LPGA is doing for women. And, it'll be promoting our LPGA Golf 101, it'll be promoting our LPGA Amateur Golf Association, and then, of course, our LPGA Women's Network. So, for us, it's exciting to see the focus on women and to have that group of 1,700 teachers who are, passionate and willing to do these kind of programs really is helping us change the face of golf. And that's great to see, because we'd love to get golf more female friendly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know, Cindy, you're one of those that have jumped on board, so I thank you for that. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ted. I'm sorry. I just don't want to keep talking over everybody.
Okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. What I was going to say is, something that I notice a lot, and this just really is a testament, Nancy and Cindy, to the LPGA organization. I obviously get on social media as we all do, and post different things. I always see. In fact, I recently saw something. I guess it was at a KPMG event recently, where the two of you were in the shot. Maybe you can shed some light on what that was all about, Nancy, a little bit. But I see the LPGA leaders, if you will, and teachers and any other part of the LPGA organization, I always see you girls promoting, doing a fantastic job through social media, and you guys always make it look fun, which I know it is. Tell us a little bit about what the KPMG thing was. It was on just recently, within the last week or so. I saw you guys in a photo shot together with another group of ladies. Tell us a little bit about that, Nancy, and then Cindy, jump in.
Sure, and you're right. Anytime I get a chance to spend time with the leaders of our organization is special. And obviously Cindy is, the Northeast Section president and represents all of the members in the Northeast Section. She was voted on to be the voice of the membership. And when strong women like Cindy step up and are willing to, as busy as they are, want to participate and want to make a difference, it's incredible. And we were there in Chicago at the KPMG Women's PGA Championship for our LPGA Teaching and Club Professional Executive Committee meetings. And we meet 3 to 4 times a year to basically, create and develop the strategic direction of our organization. So a lot of the initiatives that, I've been speaking about have really come about from the direction that the executive committee provides in terms of, where do we want to go, what do we want to do, what's the focus for not only our members but for the industry as a whole. And, we have a good day and a half of meetings out there and are able to spend some quality time together to really make sure that what we're doing, here at headquarters is not just what we want to do, but it's the direction that the membership really wants us to go. And, for us, selfishly, being at the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, we had 9 of our teaching professionals competing in that event. So not only are we able to meet there, but we're able to kind of cheer on those representatives from our teaching division. And also we were able to conduct a clinic for the LPGA, the KPMG Women's Leadership Summit participants. So, KPMG is really all about empowering and inspiring women and making sure that, women get to that C-suite. So that leadership summit that they put on there, as a lead into that, they do, the pro-am for those women who play, and then those that don't play. We have the best teachers in the country as part of our executive committee, and they're there to help encourage them to find a professional when they get back home and give them a great introduction to golf and make them realize that they can do it. A lot of times women don't jump in because they're such perfectionists, but when they get that instruction and they get that encouragement, it's really a great thing. So for us, it's a lot of things we were there for in Chicago, but it's really for strategic direction from our executive leadership team.
Fantastic. Cindy, any comments or questions that you might have?
No, it's great for us all to get together and to, commiserate and figure out and plan and create, and it's just a lot of fun to get together because I think we really have a great team. Don't you agree, Nance?
I do, and I think obviously there's 5 different sections plus our international section. So, it's each part of the country is representative. Different parts of the country have different challenges, but it's nice to have the voices that are heard, and it's like any kind of government setup, we don't all necessarily always agree, but we leave the room with kind of a unified focus. And it's an exciting time, I think, right now for the LPGA. There's so much great momentum going on, and it's fun to see. We had some great announcements just this week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I couldn't agree more, Nancy. I think it's an exciting time for golf in general. I think that, as you mentioned earlier, you would like to see, and hopefully there are going to be some changes going on within the industry. There is certainly some growth, most of it being in young females into golf, but there's also an exit in golf as well. And something I want to ask your opinion on, I recently was talking with another fellow golf professional from California, and they had the opportunity to go into a school. It was actually a middle school, and talk with about 100 kids, and they gave him a scenario, and they said, if you had 5 days and you could do something like an after-school program or something at the end of each day, what would you pick? And, of course, they were talking about a sport or something like that. And the sad thing was, out of the 100, not one mentioned golf. So it leads to me to ask the question, what do we need to do? I know there are many throughout the United States and even in Canada, there are some after-school programs with golf, but what do we need to do as an industry to get golf in sort of mainstream school like so many other sports are? Because that's something that is lacking. What can we do, and how can we help as fellow professionals? Do we need to lobby? What do we need to do to get that happening? Because I think that the younger we get them interested in golf, I think it's going to translate later on in life. What are your thoughts? What do you think we need to do as an industry?
Yeah, that's interesting. We as an industry are having discussions around that, and we get the 5 governing bodies together, really on a task force, and we've been, meeting, for about a year and a half now, really trying to address that topic. We need to make sure that the pipeline of juniors coming into the game just continues to grow, and we can learn a lot from other sports, and obviously, soccer, even though it's been on the increase for a while, is now starting to decline, and some other sports. So, we're looking to roll out something early next year that'll make it just a little bit easier for parents who want to get their juniors, their children involved in golf, to understand how to do that. Because right now it's not easy. If you're a dad and you want to get your son or daughter involved in golf, it's not just a check the box on the community center events or the summer programs like it is for soccer and some of the other sports. And, it's not easy to navigate. So, one, we need to make it a lot easier for the parents to navigate that. I think the school system is a tough one. And, the First Tee's obviously done their part to try to get golf in schools, and a lot of other organizations. And it's hard to teach golf in a field or in a gym, and it's hard for volunteer coaches to teach it. So, that's one of the reasons why we've struggled in school, because you almost have to go in and train the PE teachers first, or bring professionals in, and it's not as easy as it sounds or to navigate. So, we're working on it, but it's one of those things where, one, we have to make it easier for the parents, and then two, somehow break through this challenge of schools. A lot of the high schools are starting to put what they call life sports programs into their PE curriculum, and are actually taking kids off-site to golf courses. But that's expensive and hard to do. And is it too late at the high school level? Probably. So, but it's definitely better late than never. But to your point, it's one of the biggest challenges right now for making golf more mainstream. The other thing I will say is we need to make golf more fun and more kind of cool looking for kids. And the more we can get the Ricky Fowlers and the Lydia Ko's and those even celebrities, like Niall Horan's a golfer. He's got 72 million followers on Twitter, and most of them are little girls. So and he golfs. So we have to somehow tell that story a little better, that golf is cool and it is fun, and it's because right now it's not one of the sports that is viewed the same in school. If you're a cheerleader, you're cool. If you're a golfer, you're a nerd. So that's what we have to change.
Yeah.
It's true, though.
Well,
so true. It is true.
Well, let me just introduce all of those people that think that's the case to our previous guest, Muni, who has about 150,000 Instagram followers. I can assure you she's very cool at 18, 19 years old. But you're exactly right. Do you think also, Nancy, very quickly, because I know we got to wrap up, do you think also that maybe the courses themselves are going to have to take a more aggressive role in reaching out within their communities, and not just for corporate events and things like that, but into the school systems as well? Get the LPGA and the PGA pros, getting them more engaged with the school systems. Is that something too, I think, that you're probably looking into?
Yes, we are, and I think golf in general, the operators need to just be a little bit more creative in bringing, really juniors out. And I think for a long time, the course operators looked at juniors as filling space where they could sell other times for adults. And I think right now, you're having a lot of people look at that a little bit differently because, they're wanting to, help grow the game, and they realize that if we get juniors involved, then they turn into paying adults. And there is a little bit of a different attitude right now in terms of being a little bit more open to juniors than it was 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, where juniors can only play after a certain time. So, I think, one, that shift is happening. And, just like we do, when we encourage someone to conduct a girls golf day because they don't have a program, we help them. We outreach to all girls organizations like the Girl Scouts or Girls on the Run or other, high schools in the area to get, girls out to their facility so that they can get 20 or so girls really to get engaged and to learn the game. So sometimes it's just that outreach to those girls organizations that help get those kids to the golf course.
Yeah, well said. Well, Nancy, unfortunately, we got to wrap up. Our time's up, but we want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf Show. Can you very quickly let the folks know if they want to go and learn more about not only the foundation but girls golf and also the LPGA Women's Golf Network, where they can go to get some more information?
Sure, it's very easy. Just go to lpga.com, and anything you want is on that top navigation bar. So, follow us on social, but really lpga.com, you can find anything, any one of those LPGA programs. Perfect. Well, again, Nancy, thank you very much for joining Cindy and I this morning on the Women of Golf Show. Always very enlightening to have you on, and thank you for the many updates that you've given us, and we appreciate your giving of your time this morning. No problem. Thanks again. We'll talk to you all later.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right,
Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that was our very special guest this morning, Nancy Henderson, president of the LPGA Foundation, and very active, of course, in the teaching and club professional division as well. Just a wealth of information. She's got some fantastic ideas and some great insight, Cindy. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, quick program note. Cindy and I will not be on air next week. I'm going to be away on vacation, a long-needed vacation. So we won't be on the 17th, which would be next Tuesday, but we will return back on the 24th with another great guests, a couple of great guests, I'm sure. So make sure that you join us. But on behalf of Cindy Miller and I'm Ted Odorico. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf Show. We appreciate it as always. And just remember to keep tuning in every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network's Women of Golf. Thank you and God bless everybody. Thank you, Cindy. Thanks, Ted. Have a great week.
You too.